I've been a long-haul trucker most of my adult life. Not the kind who scares easy. Not the kind who believes every strange story you hear on the road. You drive long enough, you learn how to ignore darkness, how to trust painted lines more than your instincts. This happened during a winter run through northern Wyoming. I wasn't tired, I wasn't drunk, I wasn't distracted. That matters. It was just before midnight when my GPS rerouted me. That's not unusual. Road closures happen. Weather happens. The detour was supposed to save time. What was strange was the road it sent me onto. No name, no number. Just a thin gray line branching off the highway. I hesitated, then I checked my fuel clock. So I took it. The first few miles were normal. 2 lanes, reflectors. Snow pushed into uneven walls on both sides. The radio worked, the GPS worked, then the radio went silent. Not static, just silence. The kind that feels intentional. I checked the clock. 12 minutes had passed. The odometer said I'd driven nearly 20 miles. That didn't make sense. The snowbanks grew taller. The trees leaned closer, not bending from wind, leaning. I slowed down. That's when I noticed the reflectors. Every single one had the same scratch, same height, same angle, like something sharp had brushed past them. I told myself it was nothing. Truckers survive on explanations. Then I passed a sign, rusted, half buried. It read, "No services next 87 miles. I laughed, because I'd already driven that far. 10 minutes later, I saw headlights behind me. Relief hit hard. Another vehicle, same speed, same distance. But the lights didn't bounce, didn't sway with the road. They stayed perfectly level. I sped up. They kept pace. I slowed down. They stayed there, like a reflection. The CB radio clicked on. A voice said my call sign. I never broadcast it. The voice was calm, almost bored. It said, "You weren't supposed to take this one." I didn't answer. The voice continued. "It doesn't like detours." The radio went dead. The headlights vanished. I checked my mirrors. The road behind me was gone. Not dark. Gone. Like the world stopped existing past my trailer. I kept my eyes forward. That felt safer. The temperature dropped fast. Frost crawled across the inside of the windshield. My heater was running full. Then I saw a truck ahead. Stopped. Hazards blinking. I pulled alongside. There was no driver. The door hung open. Inside the cab, everything was frozen mid-motion. Coffee mid-spill. Paper mid-tear. Like time snapped. Scratched into the dashboard were 2 words. Turn back. I tried. The steering wheel wouldn't turn left. The road narrowed. The sky lowered. I saw movement in the snowbanks. Too tall to be animals. Too slow to be human. They didn't chase. They walked, matching my speed. Then the road vibrated. Not sound. Pressure. Like something breathing beneath the asphalt. And I understood something. The road knew me. It knew how long I'd driven nights. It knew my routes. It knew I trusted it. Something brushed the side of my trailer. Once, then again. Long, like fingers. A clean sign appeared ahead. New, bright. End of detour. I crossed it, and everything snapped back. Static, traffic, normal darkness. I pulled into the first truck stop and stayed until sunrise. Here's why I quit night driving. That road doesn't exist. Not on any map, not in any record. According to my logs, I was stopped for 3 hours. Engine off, in the middle of nowhere. I still drive, but never at night, because some roads aren't shortcuts, they're filters. And once they learn your habits, they wait. I was already tired when I saw him. Not falling asleep tired. That's different. This was the kind of tired where the road feels longer than it should, where the silence in the cab feels deliberate, like it's waiting for something to interrupt it. It was past midnight. Snow lined both sides of the highway in hard, uneven walls left behind by plows that hadn't been through in hours. No moon, no stars, just my headlights carving a narrow tunnel through the dark. I hadn't seen another car in nearly an hour. He stood on the shoulder with his thumb out. No jacket. That was the first thing I noticed. It was cold enough that my breath fogged the windshield, cold enough that the heater never quite caught up. And he stood there like the temperature didn't matter at all. He didn't wave, didn't shift his weight, didn't even turn his head when I passed. In the mirror, he was still there, still facing the road, still waiting. I slowed down before I realized I'd made the decision. When I rolled the window down, cold air spilled inside. He leaned in, just enough for the headlights to catch his face. Calm, pale, almost relieved. "Which way are you headed?" I asked. "The same way you are," he said. His voice was steady, neutral, like the answer had been obvious. I unlocked the door. He climbed in quietly, too quietly. No snow fell from his clothes, no flakes from his hair. When he exhaled, there was no fog. We drove in silence. The road ahead stayed the same at first. Yellow lines glowing faintly, trees on both sides, tall and dense, their branches heavy with snow. But the longer we drove, the more wrong it felt. The speedometer started to drop, slowly, gradually, like my foot wasn't pressing the gas. It was. "You've been driving a long time," he said. "Yeah," I replied. "Still got a few hours." "No," he said gently. "I mean tonight." The trees felt closer now, the snowbanks higher. The road markings looked older, cracked in strange branching patterns I didn't recognize. I asked where he was going. "You already passed it," he said. "Past what?" "The place you were supposed to stop." I laughed, but it didn't sound like my laugh. "I haven't seen an exit in miles." That's how it works. The dashboard lights flickered. The radio burst into static, then went silent. I reached for the volume knob. He put his hand over mine. It was warm, too warm. "You don't need that anymore," he said. The headlights dimmed. Not out, just weaker, like they were pushing against something that didn't want to be seen. The darkness ahead looked thicker, heavier, like it had weight. The speedometer hit 0. We were still moving. I slammed the brakes. The truck stopped instantly. No lurch, no weight shift, just stillness. The hitchhiker reached for the door. "Wait," I said. He paused. "You were kind enough to slow down," he said. "Not everyone does." The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Before stepping out, he turned back to me. "If you'd missed me," he said, "you'd have made it home." Then he stepped into the darkness. The door closed on its own. The headlights flared back to full brightness. The road ahead looked normal again. Fresh lines, trees pulled back. The engine sounded right. I drove until sunrise. Nothing else happened. But sometimes late at night, when the highway is empty and the radio cuts out for no reason, I think about how easy it was to slow down. And I wonder how many people didn't. People think accidents leave marks on cars. They don't. Cars get repaired, scrapped, replaced. The marks don't stay with them. They stay somewhere else. They stay on the road. I didn't believe that until I started driving nights regularly. Not emergency runs, not road trips. Just long, empty hours when nothing happens long enough that you stop expecting anything to. There's a stretch of highway I take when traffic dies out. Long, straight, flat in a way that feels unnatural once you've been on it too long. No buildings, no exits for miles, just asphalt cutting through land that never seems to change. In daylight, it's boring. At night, it feels used. The first thing I noticed wasn't dramatic. No figures, no voices, just reflections where they shouldn't have been. Faint glimmers of headlights sliding along the road surface, never behind me, never ahead. When I checked the mirrors, there was nothing there. At first, I blamed fatigue, but it kept happening. Always in the same places, always for the same amount of time. Then came the sounds. Engines, low and distant. Not loud enough to locate, but too real to ignore. The strange part was how they behaved. When I sped up, they didn't fall behind. When I slowed down, they didn't get closer. They stayed exactly where they were, like speed didn't apply to them. That's when I started noticing the road itself. The lane markings repeated. Not faded lines or old patches, but the same cracks, the same stains, appearing again and again, mile after mile. One dark oil smear, shaped like a dragged hand, showed up 3 times in a single night. My GPS said I was moving forward. The road disagreed. The brake lights appeared next. Far ahead, red, sudden, gone. No car, no debris, no reason. The first time, I slowed instinctively. Nothing happened, but the lights didn't come back. The next night, I didn't slow down. The lights stayed on longer. That's when I realized the road was reacting. Ignoring it made things fade faster. Reacting made them linger. The sounds changed after that. Not voices, never voices, impact noises, metal folding, glass popping. A heavy, dull thud that felt closer than it should have, like it was happening inside the cab instead of outside it. Sometimes the sounds came from ahead, sometimes from beside me. Once, unmistakably, from behind my seat. I never turned around. After a while, the noises started repeating. Same timing, same order, same rhythm. That's when it clicked. This wasn't a haunting, it was playback. The highway wasn't showing me spirits. It was replaying moments that had happened there, worn into the asphalt, the way tire tracks get pressed into snow. I looked up accident reports later. That stretch had more incidents than any nearby road, none recent. That bothered me more than if they'd been fresh. Nothing new was happening there, but something was still being remembered. The last night changed how I drive forever. The reflections were brighter. The engine sounds layered over each other, like multiple vehicles sharing the same space. Then everything behind me went silent. No sound, no reflection, no sense of distance. The road ahead looked clean, blank, untouched. That's when I understood what slowing down really did. It wasn't making the road replay old memories. It was making room for new ones. I didn't slow down again. I kept my speed steady until the first exit appeared and the pressure lifted all at once. In daylight, the road looks normal, empty, forgettable. But late at night, when traffic disappears and the silence stretches too long, I still feel it, not watching, waiting, because roads don't forget. They just wait for the next thing worth remembering. Subscribe for more stories.